But of malice prepense I threw self away, unwitting of love what his nature be. And Sayf al-Muluk ceased not to weep and wail and beat face and breast, till Sa'id awoke and missing him from the bed, and seeing but a single candle, said to himself, "Whither is Sayf al-Muluk gone?" Then he took the other candle and went round about the palace, till he came upon the closet where he saw the prince lying at full length, weeping with sore weeping and lamenting aloud. So he said to him, "O my brother, for what cause are these tears and what hath befallen thee? Speak to me and tell me the reason thereof." But Sayf al-Muluk spoke not, neither raised his head, and continued to weep and wail and beat hand on breast. Seeing him in this case, quoth Sa'id, "I am thy wazir and thy brother, and we were reared together, I and thou. So an thou do not unburden thy breast and discover thy secret to me, to whom shalt thou reveal it and disclose its cause?" And he went on to 331 humble himself, and kissed the ground before him a full hour, whilst Sayf al-Muluk paid no heed to him nor answered him a word, but gave not over weeping. At last, being affrighted at his case and weary of striving with him, he went out and fetched a sword, with which he returned to the closet, and setting the point to his own breast, said to the prince, "Rouse thee, O my brother, and thou tell me not what aileth thee, I will slay myself and see thee no longer in this case." Whereupon Sayf al-Muluk raised his head towards the wazir and answered him, "O my brother, I am ashamed to tell thee what hath betided me." But Sa'id said, "I conjure thee by Allah, Lord of lords, liberator of necks, causer of causes, the one, the ruthful, the giftful, the bountiful, that thou tell me what aileth thee and be not abashed at me, for I am thy slave and thy minister and counselor in all thine affairs." Quoth Sayf al-Muluk, "Come and look at this likeness." So Sa'id looked at it a while, and considering it straightly, behold, he saw written, as a crown over its head, in letters of pearl, these words, "This is the counterfeit presentment of Badi'a al-Jamal, daughter of Shahil bin Sharuk, a king of the kings of the true-believing Jann, who have taken up their abode in the city of Babel and sojourn in the garden of Aram, son of Ad the Greater." And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 763rd night, she continued, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Sa'id, son of the wazir Faris, had read to Sayf al-Muluk son of King Asim the writ on the tunic, which showed the portraiture of Badi'a al-Jamal, daughter of Shahil bin Sharuk, a king of the kings of the Moslem jinns dwelling in Babel city and in the garden of Aram, son of Ad the Greater, he cried, "O my brother, knowest thou of what woman this is the presentment, that we may seek for her?" Sayf al-Muluk replied, "No, by Allah, O my brother, I know her not." And Sa'id rejoined, "Come, read this 332 writing on the crown." So Sayf al-Muluk read it and cried out from his heart's core and very vitals, saying, "Alas, alas, alas!" Quoth Sa'id, "O my brother, and the original of the portrait exist and her name be Badi'a al-Jamal, and she abide in the world, I will hasten to seek her, that thou mayst win thy will without delay. But Allah upon thee, O my brother, leave this weeping and ascend thy throne, that the officers of the state may come in to do their service to thee. And in the undurn, do thou summon the merchants and fakirs and travelers and pilgrims and paupers, and ask of them concerning this city and the garden of Aram. Haply by the help and blessing of Allah extolled and exalted be He, some one of them shall direct us thither." So, when it was day, Sayf al-Muluk went forth and mounted the throne, clasping the tunic in his arms, for he could neither stand nor sit without it, nor would sleep visit him save it were with him. And the emirs and wazirs and lords and officers came in to him. When the divan was complete, all being assembled in their places, he said to his minister, "Go forth to them, and tell them that the king hath been suddenly struck by sickness, and he, by Allah, hath passed the night in ill case." So Sa'id fared forth and told the folk what he said, which when old King Asim heard, he was concerned for his son, and summoning the physicians and astrologers, carried them in to Sayf al-Muluk. They looked at him and prescribed him tisans and diet drinks, simples and medicinal waters, and wrote him carracks, and incensed him with nad and aloes wood and ambergris 3 days' space. But his malady persisted 3 months, till King Asim was wroth with the leeches and said to them, "Woe to you, O dogs! What, are all of you impotent to cure my son? Except ye heal him forthright, I will put the whole of you to death." The archiator replied, "O king of the age, in very sooth we know that this is thy son, and thou wottest that we fail not of diligence in tending a stranger. So how much more with medicining thy son? But thy son is afflicted with a malady hard to heal, which, if thou desire to know, we will discover it to thee." Quoth Asim, "What then find ye to be the malady of my son?" And quoth the leech, "O king of the age, thy son is in love, and he loveth one to whose enjoyment he hath no way of access. At this the king was wroth and asked, How know ye that my son is in love, and how came love to him? They answered, Inquire of his wazir and brother Said, for he knoweth his case. The king rose and repaired to his 333 private closet, and summoning Said said to him, Tell me the truth of thy brother's malady. But Said replied, I know it not. So King Asim said to the sworder, Take Said and bind his eyes and strike his neck. Whereupon Said feared for himself and cried, O king of the age, grant me immunity. Replied the king, Speak and thou shalt have it. Thy son is in love. With whom is he in love? With a king's daughter of the Jann. And where could he have espied a daughter of the Jinns? Her portrait was wrought on the tunic that was in the bundle given thee by Solomon, prophet of Allah. When the king heard this, he rose, and going in to Sayf al-Muluk said to him, O my son, what hath afflicted thee? What is this portrait whereof thou art enamored? And why didst thou not tell me? He replied, O my sire, I was ashamed to name this to thee, and could not bring myself to discover aught thereof to anyone at all. But now thou knowest my case, look how thou mayest do to cure me. Rejoined his father, What is to be done? Were this one of the daughters of men, we might devise a device for coming at her. But she is a king's daughter of the Jinns, and who can woo and win her, save it be Solomon David's son, and hardly he. However, O my son, do thou arise forthright and heart thy heart, and take horse and ride out a hunting or to weapon play in the maiden. Divert thyself with eating and drinking, and put away cark and care from thy heart, and I will bring thee 100 maids of the daughters of kings. For thou hast no need to the daughters of the Jann, over whom we lack control and of kind other than ours. But he said, I cannot renounce her, nor will I seek other than her. Asked King Asim, How then shall we do, O my son? And Sayf al-Muluk answered, Bring us all the merchants and travelers and wanderers in the city, that we may question them thereof. Peradventure, Allah will lead us to the city of Babel and the garden of Aram. So King Asim bade summon all the merchants in the city and strangers and sea captains, and as each came, inquired of him anent the city of Babel and its peninsula and the garden of Aram. But none of them knew these places, nor could any give him tidings thereof. However, when the seance broke up, one of them said, O King 334 of the age, and thou be minded to ken this thing, up and hie thee to the land of China. For it hath a vast city and a safe wherein are store of rarities and things of price and folk of all kinds. And thou shalt not come to the knowledge of this city and garden but from its folk. It may be one of them will direct thee to that thou seekest. Whereupon quoth Sayf al-Muluk, O my sire, equip me a ship, that I may fare to the Chinaland, and do thou rule the reign in my stead. Replied the old king, O my son, abide thou on the throne of thy kingship and govern thy commons, and I myself will make the voyage to China, and ask for thee of the city of Babel and the garden of Aram. But Sayf al-Muluk rejoined, O my sire, in very sooth this affair concerneth me, and none can search after it like myself. So, come what will, and thou give me leave to make the voyage, I will depart and wander a while. If I find trace or tidings of her, my wish will be won, and if not, belike the voyage will broaden my breast and recruit my courage, and haply by foreign travel my case will be made easy to me, and if I live, I shall return to thee safe and sound. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 764th night, she pursued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Sayf al-Muluk said to his sire King Asim, Equip me a ship that I may fare therein to the Chinaland, and search for the object of my desire. If I live, I shall return to thee safe and sound. The old king looked at his son, and saw nothing for it but to do what he desired. So he gave him the leave he wanted, and fitted him 40 ships, manned with 20,000 armed Mamelukes, besides servants, and presented him with great plenty of money and necessaries and warlike gear, as much as he required. When the ships were laden with water and victual, weapons and troops, Sayf al-Muluk's father and mother farewelled him, and King Asim said, Depart, O my son, and travel in weal and health and safety. I commend thee to him with whom deposits are not lost. So the prince bade adieu to his parents and embarked, with his brother 335 Sa'ad, and they weighed anchor and sailed till they came to the city of China. When the Chinamen heard of the coming of 40 ships, full of armed men and stores, weapons and hoards, they made sure that these were enemies come to battle with them and siege them. So they bolted the gates of the town and made ready the mangonels. But Sayf al-Muluk, hearing of this, sent 2 of his chief Mamelukes to the king of China, bidding them say to him, This is Sayf al-Muluk, son of King Asim of Egypt, who is come to thy city as a guest. to divert himself by viewing thy country a while, and not for conquest or contention. Wherefore, an thou wilt receive him, he will come ashore to thee, and if not he will return and will not disquiet thee nor the people of thy capital. They presented themselves at the city gates and said, We are messengers from King Saif al-Muluk. Whereupon the townsfolk opened the gates and carried them to their king, whose name was Fagfur Shah, and between whom and King Asim there had erst been acquaintance. So when he heard that the newcomer prince was the son of King Asim, he bestowed robes of honor on the messengers, and bidding open the gates, made ready guest gifts and went forth in person with the chief officers of his realm, to meet Saif al-Muluk, and the two kings embraced. Then Fagfur said to his guest, Welcome and fair cheer to him who cometh to us. I am thy slave and the slave of thy sire. My city is between thy hands to command, and whatso thou seekest shall be brought before thee. Then he presented him with the guest gifts and victual for the folk at their stations. And they took horse, with the Wazir Sa'id, and the chiefs of their officers and the rest of their troops, and rode from the seashore to the city, which they entered with cymbals clashing and drums 336 beating in token of rejoicing. There they abode in the enjoyment of fair entertainment for 40 days, at the end of which quoth the king of China to Saif al-Muluk, O son of my brother, how is thy case? Doth my country please thee? And quoth Saif al-Muluk, May Allah Almighty long honor it with thee, O king. Said Fagfur, Naught hath brought thee hither save some need which hath occurred to thee, and whatso thou desirest of my country I will accomplish it to thee. Replied Saif al-Muluk, O king, my case is a wondrous, and told him how he had fallen in love with the portrait of Badia al-Jamal, and wept bitter tears. When the king of China heard his story, he wept for pity and solicitude for him and cried, And what wouldst thou have now, O Saif al-Muluk? And he rejoined, I would have thee bring me all the wanderers and travelers, the seafarers and sea captains, that I may question them of the original of this portrait. Perhaps one of them may give me tidings of her. So Fagfur Shah sent out his nabobs and chamberlains and bodyguards to fetch all the wanderers and travelers in the land, and they brought them before the two kings, and they were a numerous company. Then Saif al-Muluk questioned them of the city of Babel and the garden of Aram, but none of them returned him a reply, whereupon he was bewildered and wist not what to do. But one of the sea captains said to him, O auspicious king, and thou wouldst know of this city, and that garden up, and hie thee to the islands of the Indian realm. Thereupon Saif al-Muluk bade bring the ships, which being done, they freighted them with vivers and water and all that they needed, and the prince and his wazir re-embarked with all their men, after they had farewelled King Fagfur Shah. They sailed the seas 4 months with a fair wind, in safety and satisfaction, till it chanced that one day of the days there came out upon them a wind, and the billows buffeted them from all quarters. The rain and hail descended on them, and during 20 days the sea was troubled for the violence of the wind, wherefore the ships drave one against other and brake up, as did the carracks, and all on board were drowned, except 337 Saif al-Muluk and some of his servants, who saved themselves in a little cock-boat. Then the wind fell by the decree of Allah Almighty, and the sun shone out. Whereupon Saif al-Muluk opened his eyes, and seeing no sign of the ships nor aught but sky and sea, said to the Mamelukes who were with him, Where are the carracks and cock-boats, and where is my brother Sa'id? They replied, O king of the age, there remain nor ships nor boats nor those who were therein, for they are all drowned and become food for fishes. Now when he heard this, he cried aloud and repeated the saying which whoso saith shall not be confounded, and it is, There is no majesty and there is no might save in Allah, the glorious, the great. Then he fell to buffeting his face and would have cast himself into the sea, but his Mamelukes withheld him, saying, O king, what will this profit thee? Thou hast brought all this on thyself, for hadst thou hearkened to thy father's words, naught thereof had betided thee. But this was written from all eternity by the will of the Creator of souls. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 765th night, she resumed, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Saif al-Muluk would have cast himself into the main, his Mamelukes withheld him, saying, What will this profit thee? Thou hast done this deed by thyself, yet was it written from all eternity by the will of the Creator of souls, that the creature might accomplish that which Allah hath decreed unto him. And indeed, at the time of thy birth, the astrologers assured thy sire that all manner troubles should befall thee. So there is naught for it but patience till Allah deliver us from this our strait. Replied the prince, There is no majesty and there is no might save in Allah, the glorious, the great. Neither is there refuge nor fleeing from that which he decreeth. And he sighed and recited these couplets. By the compassionate, I'm dazed about my case, for lo, troubles and griefs beset me sore, I know not whence they grow. I will be patient, so the folk, that I against a thing bitterer than very aloe's self, endured have may know. 338. Less bitter than my patience is the taste of aloe's juice. I've borne with patience, what's more hot than coals with fire aglow. In this my trouble what resource have I, save to commit my case to him who orders all that is, for weal or woe. Then he became drowned in the depth of thoughts, and his tears ran down upon his cheeks like torrent rain, and he slept a while of the day, after which he awoke and sought of food somewhat. So they set meat before him, and he ate his sufficiency, till they removed the food from before him. Whilst the boat drove on with them, they knew not whither it was wandering. It drifted with them at the will of the winds and the waves, night and day a great while, till their victual was spent, and they saw themselves shent and were reduced to extreme hunger and thirst and exhaustion. When behold, suddenly they sighted an island from afar, and the breezes wafted them on, till they came thither. Then, making the cock-boat fast to the coast, and leaving one therein to guard it, they fared on into the island, where they found abundance of fruits of all colors, and ate of them till they were satisfied. Presently they saw a person sitting among those trees, and he was long-faced, of strange favour and white of beard and body. He called to one of the Mamelukes by his name, saying, Eat not of these fruits, for they are unripe, but come hither to me, that I may give thee to eat of the best and the ripest. The slave looked at him, and thought that he was one of the shipwrecked, who had made his way to that island. So he joyed with exceeding joy at sight of him, and went close up to him, knowing not what was decreed to him in the secret purpose, nor what was writ upon his brow. But when he drew near, the stranger in human shape leapt upon him, for he was a Marid, and riding upon his shoulder blades and twisting one of his legs about his neck, let the other hang down upon his back, saying, Walk on, fellow, for there is no escape for thee from me, and thou art become mine ass. Thereupon the Mameluke fell a-weeping and cried out to his comrades, Alas, my lord, flee ye forth of this wood and save yourselves, for one of the dwellers therein hath mounted on my shoulders, and the rest seek you, desiring to ride you like me. When they heard these words, all fled down to the boat and pushed off to sea, whilst the islanders followed them into the water, saying, Whither wend ye? Come, tarry with us, and we will mount on your backs and give you meat and drink, and you shall be our donkeys. Hearing this, they hastened the more seawards till they left them in the distance and fared on, trusting in Allah Almighty. Nor did they leave faring for a month, till another island rose before them, and thereon they landed. Here they found fruits of various kinds, and busied themselves with eating of them, when behold, they saw from afar, somewhat lying in the road, a hideous creature as it were a column of silver. So they went up to it, and one of the men gave it a kick, when lo, it was a thing of human semblance, long of eyes and cloven of head and hidden under one of his ears. For he was wont, when as he lay down to sleep, to spread one ear under his head and cover his face with the other ear. He snatched up the Mameluke who had kicked him and carried him off into the middle of the island, and behold, it was all full of gulls who eat the sons of Adam. The man cried out to his fellows, Save yourselves, for this is the island of the man-eating gulls, and they mean to tear me to bits and devour me. When they heard these words, they fled back to the boat, without gathering any store of the fruits, and putting out to sea, fared on some days till it so happened that they came to another island, where they found a high mountain. So they climbed to the top, and there saw a thick copse. Now they were sore anhungered, so they took to eating of the fruits. But before they were aware, there came upon them from among the trees black men of terrible aspect, each 50 cubits high, with eye teeth protruding from their mouths like elephants' tusks, and laying hands on Saif al-Muluk and his company, carried them to their king, whom they found seated on a piece of black felt laid on rock, and about him a great company of Zanzibar blacks, standing in his service. The blackamoors who had captured the prince and his Mamelukes set them before the king and said to him, We found these birds among the trees. And the king was sharp set. So he took 2 of the servants and cut their throats and ate them. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 766th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the Zanzibar blacks took Saif al-Muluk and his Mamelukes and set them before the king, saying, O king, we came upon these birds among the trees. Thereupon the king seized 2 of the Mamelukes and cut their throats and ate them, which, when Saif al-Muluk saw, he feared for himself and wept and repeated these verses. Familiar with my heart are woes, and with them I, who shunned them, for familiar are great hearts and high. The woes I suffer are not all of single kind. I have, thank Allah, varied thousands to abide. Then he sighed, and repeated these also. The world hath shot me with its sorrows till my heart is covered with shafts galore. And now, when strike me other shafts must break, against old points the points that latest pour. When the king heard his weeping and wailing, he said, Verily these birds have sweet voices, and their song pleaseth me, put them in cages. So they set them each in his own cage, and hung them up at the king's head that he might listen to their warbling. On this wise Sayf al-Muluk and his Mamelukes abode, and the blackamoors gave them to eat and drink. And now they wept and now laughed, now spake and now were hushed, whilst the king of the blacks delighted in the sound of their voices. And so they continued for a long time. Now this king had a daughter married in another island, who, hearing that her father had birds with sweet voices, sent a messenger to him seeking of him some of them. So he sent her, by her Qasid, Sayf al-Muluk and 3 of his men in 4 cages. And when she saw them, 341 they pleased her, and she bade hang them up in a place over her head. The prince fell to marveling at that which had befallen him, and calling to mind his former high and honorable estate and weeping for himself. And the 3 servants wept for themselves. And the king's daughter deemed that they sang. Now it was her wont, whenever anyone from the land of Egypt or elsewhere fell into her hands and he pleased her, to advance him to great favor with her. And by the decree of Allah Almighty it befell that, when she saw Sayf al-Muluk, she was charmed by his beauty and loveliness and symmetry and perfect grace. And she commanded to entreat him and his companions with honor, and to loose them from their cages. Now one day she took the prince apart and would have him enjoy her. But he refused, saying, O my lady, I am a banished wight, and with passion for a beloved one in piteous plight, nor with other will I consent to love delight. Then she coaxed him and importuned him, but he held aloof from her, and she could not approach him nor get her desire of him by any ways and means. At last, when she was weary of courting him in vain, she waxed wroth with him and his Mamelukes, and commanded that they should serve her and fetch her wood and water. In such condition, they abode 4 years, till Sayf al-Muluk became weary of his life, and sent to intercede with the princess. So haply she might release them, and let them wend their ways, and be at rest from that their hard labor. So she sent for him and said to him, If thou wilt do my desire, I will free thee from this thy durance vile, and thou shalt go to thy country safe and sound. And she wept and ceased not to humble herself to him and wheedle him, but he would not hearken to her words. Whereupon she turned from him, in anger, and he and his companions abode on the island in the same plight. The islanders knew them for the princess's birds, and durst not work them any wrong, and her heart was at ease concerning them, being assured that they could not escape from the island. So they used to absent themselves from her 2 and 3 days at a time, and go round about the desert parts in all directions, gathering firewood, which they brought to the princess's kitchen. And thus they abode 5 years. Now one day it so chanced that the prince and his men were sitting on the seashore, devising of what had befallen, and Sayf al-Muluk, seeing himself and his men in such case, bethought 342 him of his mother and father and his brother Sa'ad, and calling to mind what high degree he had been in, fell a-weeping and lamenting passing sore, whilst his slaves wept likewise. Then said they to him, O king of the age, how long shall we weep? Weeping availeth not, for this thing was written on our brows by the ordinance of Allah, to whom belong might and majesty. Indeed the pen runneth with that he decreeth, and naught will serve us but patience. Haply Allah extolled and exalted be he, who hath saddened us shall gladden us. Quoth he, O my brothers, how shall we win free from this accursed woman? I see no way of escape for us, save Allah of his grace deliver us from her. But methinks we may flee and be at rest from this hard labor. And quoth they, O king of the age, whither shall we flee? For the whole island is full of gulls which devour the sons of Adam, and whithersoever we go, they will find us there and either eat us or capture and carry us back to that accursed, the king's daughter, who will be wroth with us. Sayf al-Muluk rejoined, I will contrive you somewhat, whereby peradventure Allah Almighty shall deliver us and help us to escape from this island. They asked, And how wilt thou do? And he answered, Let us cut some of these long pieces of wood, and twist ropes of their bark and bind them one with another, and make of them a raft which we will launch and load with these fruits. Then we will fashion us paddles and embark on the raft after breaking our bonds with the axe. It may be that Almighty Allah will make it the means of our deliverance from this accursed woman, and vouchsafe us a fair wind to bring us to the land of Hind, for he over all things is almighty. Said they, Right is thy rede, and rejoiced thereat with exceeding joy. So they arose without stay or delay, and cut with their axes wood for the raft and twisted ropes to bind the logs, and at this they worked a whole month. Every day about evening, they gathered somewhat of fuel and bore it to the princess's kitchen, and employed the rest of the 24 hours working at the raft. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 767th night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Sayf al-Muluk and his Mamelukes, having cut the wood and twisted the ropes for their raft, made an end of it and launched it upon the sea. Then, after breaking their bonds with the axe, and loading the craft with fruits plucked from the island trees, they embarked at close of day. Nor did any wot of their intent. They put out to sea in their raft and paddled on 4 months, knowing not whither the craft carried them, till their provant failed them and they were suffering the severest extreme of hunger and thirst, when behold, the sea waxed troubled and foamed and rose in high waves, and there came forth upon them a frightful crocodile, which put out its claw and catching up one of the Mamelukes swallowed him. At the sight of this horror Sayf al-Muluk wept bitterly, and he and the 2 men that remained to him pushed off from the place where they had seen the crocodile, sore affrighted. After this, they continued drifting on till one day they espied a mountain terrible tall, and spiring high in air, whereat they rejoiced, when presently an island appeared. They made towards it with all their might, congratulating one another on the prospect of making land. But hardly had they sighted the island on which was the mountain, when the sea changed face and boiled, and rose in big waves, and a second crocodile raised its head, and putting out its claw caught up the 2 remaining Mamelukes and swallowed them. So Sayf al-Muluk abode alone, and making his way to the island, twalled till he reached the mountain top, where he looked about and found a copse, and walking among the trees fell to eating of the fruits. Presently he saw among the branches more than 20 great apes, each bigger than a he-mule, whereat he was seized with exceeding fear. The apes came down and surrounded him. Then 344 they forewent him, signing to him to follow them, and walked on, and he too, till he came to a castle, tall of base and strong of build, whose ordnance was 1 brick of gold and 1 of silver. The apes entered, and he after them, and he saw in the castle all manner of rarities, jewels and precious metals such as tongue faileth to describe. Here also he found a young man, passing tall of stature with no hair on his cheeks, and Sayf al-Muluk was cheered by the sight, for there was no human being but he in the castle. The stranger marveled exceedingly at sight of the prince, and asked him, What is thy name, and of what land art thou, and how camest thou hither? Tell me thy tale, and hide from me naught thereof. Answered the prince, By Allah, I came not hither of my own consent, nor is this place of my intent, yet I cannot but go from place to place till I win my wish. Quoth the youth, And what is thy object? And quoth the other, I am of the land of Egypt, and my name is Sayf al-Muluk, son of King Asim bin Safwan, and told him all that had passed with him, from first to last. Whereupon the youth arose and stood in his service, saying, O king of the age, I was erst in Egypt, and heard that thou hadst gone to the land of China. But where is this land, and where lies Chinaland? Verily, this is a wondrous thing and marvelous matter. Answered the prince, Sooth thou speakest, but when I left Chinaland, I set out, intending for the land of Hind, and a stormy wind arose and the sea boiled and broke all my ships. Brief, he told him all that had befallen him till he came thither. Whereupon quoth the other, O king's son, thou hast had enough of strangerhood and its sufferings, alhamdulillah, praised be Allah who hath brought thee hither. So now do thou abide with me, that I may enjoy thy company till I die, when thou shalt become king over this island, to which no bound is known, and these apes thou seest are indeed skilled in all manner of crafts, and whatso thou seekest here shalt thou find. Replied Sayf al-Muluk, O my brother, I may not tarry in any place till my wish be won. Albeit I compass the whole world in pursuit thereof, and make quest of every one, so peradventure 345 Allah may bring me to my desire, or my course lead me to the place wherein is the appointed term of my days, and I shall die my death. Then the youth turned with a sign to one of the apes, and he went out and was absent a while, after which he returned with other apes girt with silken zones. They brought the trays and set on near 100 chargers of gold and saucers of silver, containing all manner of meats. Then they stood, after the manner of servants between the hands of kings, till the youth signaled to the chamberlains, who sat down, and he whose wont it was to serve stood, whilst the 2 princes ate their sufficiency. Then the apes cleared the table and brought basins and ewers of gold, and they washed their hands in rose water. After which they set on fine sugar and nigh 40 flagons, in each a different kind of wine, and they drank, and took their pleasure, and made merry, and had a fine time, and all the apes danced and gambolled before them, what while the eaters sat at meat, which when Sayf al-Muluk saw, he marveled at them and forgot that which had befallen him of sufferings. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 768th night, she pursued, it hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Sayf al-Muluk saw the gestures and gambols of the apes, he marveled thereat and forgot that which had betided him of strangerhood and its sufferings. At nightfall they lighted waxen candles in candlesticks of gold studded with gems and set on dishes of confections and fruits of sugar candy. So they ate, and when the hour of rest was come, the apes spread them bedding and they slept. And when morning morrowed, the young man arose, as was his wont, before sunrise, and waking Sayf al-Muluk said to him, Put thy head forth of this lattice, and see what standeth beneath it. So he put out his head, and saw the wide waste, and all the wold filled with apes, whose number none knew save Allah Almighty. Quoth he, Here be great plenty of apes, for they cover the whole country, but why are they assembled this hour? Quoth the youth, This is their custom. Every Sabbath, all the apes in the island come hither, some from 2 and 3 days' distance, and stand here till I awake from sleep and put forth my head from this lattice, when they kiss ground before me and go about their business. So saying, he put his head out of the window, and when the apes saw him, they kissed the earth before him and went their way. Sayf al-Muluk abode with the young man a whole month when he farewelled him and departed, escorted by a party of nigh 100 apes, which the young man bade escort him. They journeyed with him 7 days, till they came to the limits of their islands, when they took leave of him and returned to their places, while Sayf al-Muluk fared on alone over mount and hill, desert and plain, 4 months' journey, one day anhungered and the next satiated, now eating of the herbs of the earth and then of the fruits of the trees, till he repented him of the harm he had done himself by leaving the young man, and he was about to retrace his steps to him, when he saw a something black afar off and said to himself, Is this a city or trees? But I will not turn back till I see what it is. So he made towards it, and when he drew near, he saw that it was a palace tall of base. Now he who built it was Japhet son of Noah, on whom be peace. And it is of this palace that God the Most High speaketh in his precious book, weenas he saith, and an abandoned well and a high-builded palace. Sayf al-Muluk sat 347 down at the gate and said in his mind, Would I knew what is within yonder palace, and what king dwelleth there, and who shall acquaint me whether its folk are men or jinn? Who will tell me the truth of the case? He sat considering a while, but seeing none go in or come out, he rose and committing himself to Allah Almighty entered the palace and walked on, till he had counted 7 vestibules, yet saw no one. Presently looking to his right he beheld 3 doors, while before him was a 4th, over which hung a curtain. So he went up to this, and raising the curtain, found himself in a great hall spread with silken carpets. At the upper end rose a throne of gold whereon sat a damsel, whose face was like the moon, arrayed in royal raiment and beautified as she were a bride on the night of her displaying. And at the foot of the throne was a table of 40 trays spread with golden and silvern dishes full of dainty viands. The prince went up and saluted her, and she returned his salam, saying, Art thou of mankind or of the jinn? Replied he, I am a man of the best of mankind, for I am a king, son of a king. She rejoined, What seekest thou? Up with thee and eat of yonder food, and after tell me thy past from first to last, and how thou camest hither. So he sat down at the table, and removing the cover from a tray of meats, he being hungry, and ate till he was full, then washed his right hand and going up to the throne, sat down by the damsel who asked him, Who art thou, and what is thy name, and whence comest thou, and who brought thee hither? He answered, Indeed my story is a long, but do thou first tell me who and what and whence thou art, and why thou dwellest in this place alone. She rejoined, My name is Daulat Khatun, and I am the daughter of the king of Hind. My father dwelleth in the capital city of Serendib and hath a great and goodly garden. There is no goodlier in all the land of Hind or its dependencies. 348, and in this garden is a great tank. One day I went out into the garden with my slave women, and I stripped me naked and they likewise, and entering the tank, fell to sporting and solacing ourselves therein. Presently, before I could beware, a something as it were a cloud swooped down on me and snatching me up from amongst my handmaids, soared aloft with me betwixt heaven and earth, saying, Fear not, O Daulat Khatun, but be of good heart. Then he flew on with me a little while, after which he set me down in this palace, and straightway without stay or delay became a handsome young man daintily apparelled, who said to me, Now dost thou know me? Replied I, No, O my lord. And he said, I am the Blue King, sovereign of the Jann. My father dwelleth in the castle Al-Kulsum Height, and hath under his hand 600,000 jinn, flyers and divers. It chanced that while passing on my way I saw thee, and fell in love with thee for thy lovely form, So I swooped down on thee, and snatched thee up from among the slave girls, and brought thee to this the high-builded castle, which is my dwelling place. None may fare hither, be he man or be he Jinni, and from hind hither is a journey of 120 years. Wherefore do thou hold that thou wilt never again behold the land of thy father and thy mother. So abide with me here, in contentment of heart and peace, and I will bring to thy hands whatso thou seekest. Then he embraced me and kissed me, and Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 769th night, she resumed, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the damsel said to Sayf al-Muluk. Then the king of the Jann, after he had acquainted me with his case, embraced me and kissed me, saying, Abide here and fear nothing. Whereupon he went away from me for an hour, and presently returned with these 349 tables and carpets and furniture. He comes to me every third and abideth with me 3 days, and on Friday, at the time of mid-afternoon prayer, he departeth and is absent till the following third. When he is here, he eateth and drinketh and kisseth and huggeth me, but doth not else with me, and I am a pure virgin, even as Allah Almighty created me. My father's name is Taj al-Muluk, and he wotteth not what is come of me, nor hath he hit upon any trace of me. This is my story, now tell me thy tale. Answered the prince, My story is a long, and I fear lest while I am telling it to thee the Ifrit come. Quoth she, He went out from me but an hour before thy entering, and will not return till third. So sit thee down, and take thine ease and heart in thy heart, and tell me what hath betided thee from beginning to end. And quoth he, I hear and I obey. So he fell to telling her all that had befallen him from commencement to conclusion, but when she heard speak of Badi'a al-Jamal, her eyes ran over with railing tears, and she cried, O Badi'a al-Jamal, I had not thought this of thee. Alack for our luck! O Badi'a al-Jamal, dost thou not remember me nor say, My sister Daulat Khatun, whither is she gone? And her weeping redoubled, lamenting for that Badi'a al-Jamal had forgotten her. Then said Sayf al-Muluk, O Daulat Khatun, thou art a mortal and she is a Jinniya, how then can she be thy sister? Replied the princess, She is my sister by fosterage, and this is how it came about. My mother went out to solace herself in the garden, when labor pangs seized her and she bare me. Now the mother of Badi'a al-Jamal chanced to be passing with her guards, when she also was taken with travail pains. So she alighted in a side of the garden, and there brought forth Badi'a al-Jamal. She dispatched one of her women to seek food and childbirth gear of my mother, who sent her what she sought, and invited her to visit her. So she came to her with Badi'a al-Jamal, and my mother suckled the child, who with her mother tarried with us in the garden 2 months. And before wending her ways, the mother of Badi'a al-Jamal gave my mother somewhat, saying, When thou hast need of me, I will come to thee amiddlemost the 350 garden, and departed to her own land. But she and her daughter used to visit us every year and abide with us a while before returning home. Wherefore and I were with my mother, O Sayf al-Muluk, and if thou wert with me in my own country and Badi'a al-Jamal and I were together as of wont, I would devise some device with her to bring thee to thy desire of her. But I am here and they know not of me. For that and they kenned what is become of me, they have power to deliver me from this place. However, the matter is in Allah's hands, extolled and exalteth be He. And what can I do? Quoth Sayf al-Muluk, Rise and let us flee and go whither the Almighty willeth. But quoth she, We cannot do that, for by Allah, though we fled hence a year's journey, that accursed would overtake us in an hour and slaughter us. Then said the prince, I will hide myself in his way, and when he passeth by I will smite him with the sword and slay him. Daulat Khatun replied, Thou canst not succeed in slaying him save thou slay his soul. Asked he, And where is his soul? And she answered, Many a time have I questioned him thereof, but he would not tell me, till one day I pressed him, and he waxed wroth with me and said to me, How often wilt thou ask me of my soul? What hast thou to do with my soul? I rejoined, O Hatim, there remaineth none to me but thou, except Allah, and my life dependeth on thy life, and whilst thou livest, all is well for me. So, except I care for thy soul and set it in the apple of this mine eye, how shall I live in thine absence? And I knew where thy soul abideth, I would never cease whilst I live, to hold it in mine embrace and would keep it as my right eye. Whereupon said he to me, What time I was born, the astrologers predicted that I should lose my soul at the hands of the son of a king of mankind. So I took it and set it in the crop of a sparrow, and shut up the bird in a box. The box I set in a casket, and enclosing this in 7 other caskets and 7 chests, laid the whole in an alabastern coffer, which I buried within the marge of yon earth-circling sea, for that these parts are far from the world of men, and none of them can win hither. So now see, I have told thee what thou wouldst know, and do thou tell none thereof, for it is a secret between me and thee. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 770th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Daulat Khatun acquainted Sayf al-Muluk with the whereabouts of the soul of the Jinni who had carried her off and repeated to him his speech ending with, And this is a secret between me and thee. I rejoined, quoth she, To whom should I tell it, seeing that none but thou cometh hither with whom I may talk thereof? Adding, By Allah, thou hast indeed set thy soul in the strongest of strongholds to which none may gain access. How should a man win to it, unless the impossible be foreordained and Allah decree like as the astrologers predicted? Thereupon the Jinni, Peradventure one may come, having on his finger the seal ring of Solomon son of David, on the twain be peace, and lay his hand with the ring on the face of the water, saying, By the virtue of the names engraven upon this ring, let the soul of such an one come forth. Whereupon the coffer will rise to the surface, and he will break it open and do the like with the chests and caskets, till he come to the little box, when he will take out the sparrow and strangle it, and I shall die. Then said Sayf al-Muluk, I am the king's son of whom he spake, and this is the ring of Solomon David's son on my finger. So rise, let us go down to the seashore, and see if his words be leal or leasing. Thereupon the two walked down to the seashore, and the princess stood on the beach, whilst the prince waded into the water to his waist, and laying his hand with the ring on the surface of the sea, said, By the virtue of the names and talismans engraven on this ring, and by the might of Sulayman bin Daud on whom be the peace, let the soul of Hatim the Jinni, son of the Blue King, come forth. Whereat the sea boiled in billows, and the coffer of alabaster rose to the surface. Sayf al-Muluk took it and shattered it against the rock, and broke open the chests and caskets, till he came to the little box, and drew thereout the sparrow. Then the twain returned to the castle and sat down on the throne. But hardly had they done this, when lo and behold, there arose a dust cloud terrifying, and some huge thing came flying and crying, Spare me, O king's son, and slay me not, but make me thy freedman, and I will bring thee to thy desire. Quoth Daulat Khatun, the Jinni cometh, slay the sparrow, lest this accursed enter the palace, and take it from thee and slaughter me, and slaughter thee after me. So the prince wrung the sparrow's neck, and it died, whereupon the Jinni fell down at the palace door, and became a heap of black ashes. Then said Daulat Khatun, We are delivered from the hand of yonder accursed, what shall we do now? And Sayf al-Muluk replied, It behoveth us to ask aid of Allah Almighty who hath afflicted us. Belike he will direct us and help us to escape from this our strait. So saying, he arose and pulling up 60 of the doors of the palace, which were of sandalwood and line-aloes with nails of gold and silver, bound them together with ropes of silk and floss silk and fine linen, and wrought of them a raft, which he and the princess aided each other to hale down to the seashore. They launched it upon the water till it floated, and making it fast to the beach, returned to the palace, whence they removed all the chargers of gold and saucers of silver and jewels and precious stones and metals, and what else was light of load and weighty of worth, and freighted the raft therewith. Then they embarked after fashioning 2 pieces of wood into the likeness of paddles, and casting off the rope moorings, let the raft drift out to sea with them, committing themselves to Allah the Most High, who contenteth those that put their trust in him, and disappointeth not them who rely upon him. They ceased not faring on thus 4 months, until their victual was exhausted, and their sufferings waxed severe, and their souls were straitened. So they prayed Allah to vouchsafe them deliverance from that danger. But all this time when they lay down to sleep, Sayf al-Muluk set Daulat Khatun behind him, and laid a naked brand at his back, so that, when he turned in sleep, the sword was between them. At last it chanced one night, 353, when Sayf al-Muluk was asleep and Daulat Khatun awake, that behold, the raft drifted landwards and entered a port wherein were ships. The princess saw the ships and heard a man, he being the chief and head of the captains, talking with the sailors, whereby she knew that this was the port of some city, and that they were come to an inhabited country. So she joyed with exceeding joy, and waking the prince said to him, Ask the captain the name of the city and harbor. Thereupon Sayf al-Muluk arose and said to the captain, O my brother, how is this harbor hight, and what be the names of yonder city and its king? Replied the captain, O false face, O frosty beard, and thou knew not the name of this port and city, how camest thou hither? Quoth Sayf al-Muluk, I am a stranger and had taken passage in a merchant ship which was wrecked and sank with all on board. But I saved myself on a plank and made my way hither, wherefore I asked thee the name of the place, and in asking is no offense. Then said the captain, This is the city of Amaria, and this harbor is called Kaman al-Bahrain. When the princess heard this, she rejoiced with exceeding joy and said, Praised be Allah. He asked, What is to do? And she answered, O Saif al-Muluk, rejoice in succor near hand, for the king of this city is my uncle, my father's brother. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 771st night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Daulat Khatun said to Saif al-Muluk, rejoice in safety near hand, for the king of this city is my uncle, my father's brother 354, and his name is Ali al-Muluk, adding, Say thou then to the captain, Is the sultan of the city Ali al-Muluk well? He asked, but the captain was wroth with him and cried, Thou sayest, I am a stranger and never in my life came hither. Who then told thee the name of the lord of the city? When Daulat Khatun heard this, she rejoiced and knew him for Muin al-Din, one of her father's captains. Now he had fared forth in search of her, after she was lost, and finding her not, he never ceased cruising till he came to her uncle's city. Then she bade Saif al-Muluk say to him, O Captain Muin al-Din, come and speak with thy mistress. So he called out to him as she bade, whereat he was wroth with exceeding wrath and answered, O dog, O thief, O spy, who art thou and how knowest thou me? Then he said to one of the sailors, Give me an ash stave, that I may go to yonder plaguing Arab and break his head. So he took the stick and made for Saif al-Muluk. But when he came to the raft, he saw something wondrous, beauteous, which confounded his wits, and considering it straightly, he made sure that it was Daulat Khatun sitting there, as she were a slice of the moon. Whereat he said to the prince, Who is that with thee? Replied he, A damsel by name Daulat Khatun. When the captain heard the princess's name and knew that she was his mistress and the daughter of his king, he fell down in a fainting fit, and when he came to himself, he left the raft and whatso was thereon, and riding up to the palace, craved an audience of the king. Whereupon the chamberlain went into the presence and said, Captain Muin al-Din is come to bring thee good news, so bid he be brought in. The king bade admit him. Accordingly he entered, and kissing ground said to him, O king, thou owest me a gift for glad tidings, for thy brother's daughter Daulat Khatun hath reached our city safe and sound, and is now on a raft in the harbor, in company with a young man like the moon on the night of its full. When the king heard this, he rejoiced and conferred a costly robe of honor on the captain. Then he 355 straightway bade decorate the city in honor of the safe return of his brother's daughter, and sending for her and Saif al-Muluk, saluted the twain and gave them joy of their safety. After which he dispatched a messenger to his brother, to let him know that his daughter was found and was with him. As soon as the news reached Taj al-Muluk, he gat him ready and assembling his troops set out for his brother's capital, where he found his daughter and they rejoiced with exceeding joy. He sojourned with his brother a week, after which he took his daughter and Saif al-Muluk and returned to Serendib, where the princess foregathered with her mother and they rejoiced at her safe return, and held high festival, and that day was a great day, never was seen its like. As for Saif al-Muluk, the king entreated him with honor and said to him, O Saif al-Muluk, thou hast done me and my daughter all this good for which I cannot requite thee nor can any requite thee, save the Lord of the three worlds. But I wish thee to sit upon the throne in my stead, and rule the land of Hind, for I offer thee of my throne and kingdom and treasures and servants, all this in free gift to thee. Whereupon Saif al-Muluk rose and kissing the ground before the king, thanked him and answered, O king of the age, I accept all thou givest me and return it to thee in freest gift. For I, O king of the age, covet not sovereignty nor sultanate nor desire aught, but that Allah the Most High bring me to my desire. Rejoined the king, O Saif al-Muluk, these my treasures are at thy disposal. Take of them what thou wilt, without consulting me, and Allah requite thee for me with all weal. Quoth the prince, Allah advance the king. There is no delight for me in money or in dominion till I win my wish. But now I have a mind to solace myself in the city, and view its thoroughfares and market streets. So the king bade bring him a mare of the thoroughbreds, saddled and bridled, and Saif al-Muluk mounted her, and rode through the streets and markets of the city. As he looked about him right and left, lo, his eyes fell on a young man, who was carrying a tunic and crying it for sale at 15 dinars. So he considered him and saw him to be like his brother Saad. And indeed it was his very self, but he was one of blee, and changed for long strangerhood and the travails of travel, so that he knew him not. However, he said to his attendants, Take yonder youth and carry him to the palace where I lodge, and keep him with you till my return from the ride when I will question him. But they understood hto say, Carry him to the prison, and said in themselves, Haply this is some runaway Mameluke of his. So they took him and bore him to the bridewell, where they laid him in irons and left him seated in solitude, unremembered by any. Presently Saif al-Muluk returned to the palace, but he forgot his brother Saad, and none made mention of him. So he abode in prison, and when they brought out the prisoners, to cut ashlar from the quarries they took Said with them, and he wrought with the rest. He abode a month's space, in this squalor and sore sorrow, pondering his case and saying in himself, "What is the cause of my imprisonment?" While Saif al-Muluk's mind was diverted from him by rejoicing and other things. But one day, as he sat, he bethought him of Said and said to his Mamelukes, "Where is the white slave I gave into your charge on such a day?" Quoth they, "Didst thou not bid us bear him to the bridewell?" And quoth he, "Nay, I said not so. I bade you carry him to my palace after the ride." Then he sent his chamberlains and emirs for Said, and they fetched him in fetters, and loosing him from his irons set him before the prince, who asked him, "O young man, what countryman art thou?" And he answered, "I am from Egypt and my name is Said, son of Faris the wazir." Now hearing these words Saif al-Muluk sprang to his feet, and throwing himself off the throne and upon his friend, hung on his neck, weeping aloud for very joy and saying, "O my brother, O Said, praise be Allah for that I see thee alive. I am thy brother Saif al-Muluk, son of King Asim." Then they embraced and shed tears together, and all who were present marveled at them. After this Saif al-Muluk bade his people bear Said to the hammam bath, and they did so. When he came out, they clad him in costly clothing, and carried him back to Saif al-Muluk, who seated him on the throne beside himself. When King Taj al-Muluk heard of the reunion of Saif al-Muluk and his brother Said, he joyed with joy exceeding and came to them, and the three sat devising of all that had befallen them in the past from first to last. Then said Said, "O my brother, O Saif al-Muluk, when the ship sank with all on board I saved myself on a plank with a company of Mamelukes, and it drifted with us a whole month, when the wind cast us, by the ordinance of Allah Almighty, upon an island. So we landed and entering among the trees took to eating of the fruits, for we were an-hungered. Whilst we were busy eating, there fell on us unawares 357 folk like ifrits and springing on our shoulders rode us and said to us, 'Go on with us, for ye are become our asses.' So I said to him who had mounted me, 'What art thou and why mountest thou me?' At this he twisted one of his legs about my neck, till I was all but dead, and beat upon my back the while with the other leg, till I thought he had broken my backbone. So I fell to the ground on my face, having no strength left in me for famine and thirst. From my fall he knew that I was hungry, and taking me by the hand, led me to a tree laden with fruit which was a pear tree, and said to me, 'Eat thy fill of this tree.' So I ate till I had enough and rose to walk against my will. But ere I had fared afar the creature turned and leaping on my shoulders again drove me on, now walking, now running and now trotting, and he the while mounted on me, laughing and saying, 'Never in my life saw I a donkey like unto thee.' We abode thus for years till one day of the days, it chanced that we saw there great plenty of vines, covered with ripe fruit. So we gathered a quantity of grape bunches and throwing them into a pit, trod them with our feet, till the pit became a great waterpool. Then we waited a while and presently returning thither, found that the sun had rotten on the grape juice and it was become wine. So we used to drink it till we were drunken and our faces flushed, and we fell to singing and dancing and running about in the merriment of drunkenness. Whereupon our master said to us, 'What is it that readineth your faces and maketh you dance and sing?' We replied, 'Ask us not. What is your quest in questioning us hereof?' But they insisted, saying, 'You must tell us so that we may know the truth of the case,' till we told them how we 358 had pressed grapes and made wine. Quoth they, 'Give us to drink thereof.' But quoth we, 'The grapes are spent.' So they brought us to a wady, whose length we knew not from its breadth nor its beginning from its end, wherein were vines each bunch of grapes on them weighing 20 pounds by the scale and all within easy reach, and they said, 'Gather of these.' So we gathered a mighty great store of grapes, and finding there a big trench bigger than the great tank in the king's garden, we filled it full of fruit. This we trod with our feet and did with the juice as before till it became strong wine, which it did after a month. Whereupon we said to them, 'Tea's come to perfection, but in what will ye drink it?' And they replied, 'We had asses like unto you, but we ate them and kept their heads, so give us to drink in their skulls.' We went to their caves which we found full of heads and bones of the sons of Adam, and we gave them to drink, when they became drunken and lay down, nigh 200 of them. Then we said to one another, 'Is't not enough that they should ride us, but they must eat us also? There is no majesty and there is no might save in Allah, the glorious, the great. But we will ply them with wine, till they are overcome by drunkenness, when we will slay them and be at rest from them.' Accordingly, we awoke them and fell to filling the skulls and gave them to drink, but they said, 'This is bitter.' We replied, 'Why say ye 'tis bitter? Whoso saith thus, except he drink of it 10 times, he dieth the same day.' When they heard this, they feared death and cried to us, 'Give us to drink the whole 10 times.' So we gave them to drink, And when they had swallowed the rest of the 10 draughts, they waxed drunken exceedingly, and their strength failed them, and they availed not to mount us. Thereupon we dragged them together by their hands, and laying them one upon another, collected great plenty of dry vine stalks and branches, and heaped it about and upon them. Then we set fire to the pile and stood afar off, to see what became of them. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 772nd night, she pursued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Sa'id continued. When we set fire to the pile wherein were the gulls, I with the Mamelukes stood afar off to see what became of them. And as soon the fire was burnt out, we came back and found them a heap of ashes, wherefore we praised Allah Almighty who had delivered us from them. Then we went forth about the island and sought the seashore, where we parted, and I and 2 of the Mamelukes fared on, till we came to a thick copse full of fruit, and there busied ourselves with eating. And behold, presently up came a man tall of stature, long of beard and lengthy of ear, with eyes like cressets, driving before him and feeding a great flock of sheep. When he saw us he rejoiced, and said to us, Welcome and fair welcome to you. Draw near me that I may slaughter you and you of these sheep and roast it and give you to eat. Quoth we, Where is thine abode? And quoth he, Hard by yonder mountain, go on towards it till ye come to a cave and enter therein, for you will see many guests like yourselves. And do ye sit with them, whilst we make ready for you the guest meal. We believed him, so fared on as he bade us, till we came to the cavern, where we found many guests, sons of Adam like ourselves, but they were all blinded. And when we entered, one said, I'm sick, and another, I'm weak. So we cried to them, What is this you say, and what is the cause of your sickness and weakness? They asked, Who are ye? And we answered, We are guests. Then said they, What hath made you fall into the hands of yonder accursed? But there is no majesty and there is no might save in Allah, the glorious, the great. This is a gull who devoureth the sons of Adam, and he hath blinded us and meaneth to eat us. Saw, and how did he blind you? And they replied, Even as he will blind yourselves anon. Quoth we, And how so? And quoth they, He will bring you bowls of soured milk and will say to you, Ye are weary with wayfare, take this milk and drink it, and when ye have drunken thereof, ye will become blind like us. Said I to myself, There is no escape for us but by contrivance. So I dug a hole in the ground and sat over it. After an hour or so in came the accursed gull with bowls of milk, whereof he gave to each of us, saying, Ye come from the desert and are athirst. So take this milk and drink it, whilst I roast you the flesh. I took the cup and carried it to my mouth, but emptied it into the hole. Then I cried out, Alas, my sight is gone and I am blind. And clapping my hand to my eyes, fell a weeping and a wailing, whilst the accursed laughed and said, Fear not, thou art now become like mine other guests. But as for my 2 comrades, they drank the milk and became blind. Thereupon the gull arose and stopping up the mouth of the cavern came to me and felt my ribs, but found me lean and with no flesh on my bones. So he tried another and finding him fat, rejoiced. Then he slaughtered 3 sheep and skinned them and fetching iron spits, spitted the flesh thereon and set them over the fire to roast. When the meat was done, he placed it before my comrades, who ate and he with them. After which he brought a leather bag full of wine and drank thereof and lay down prone and snored. Said I to myself, He's drowned in sleep, how shall I slay him? Then I bethought me of the spits and thrusting 2 of them into the fire, waited till they were as red-hot coals. Whereupon I arose and girded myself, and taking a spit in each hand went up to the accursed gull, and thrust them into his eyes, pressing upon them with all my might. He sprang to his feet for sweet life, and would have laid hold of me, but he was blind. So I fled from him into the inner cavern, whilst he ran after me. But I found no place of refuge from him, nor whence I might escape into the open country, for the cave was stopped up with stones. Wherefore I was bewildered, and said to the blind men, How shall I do with this accursed? Replied one of them, O Sa'id, 361 with a run and a spring mount up to yonder niche, and thou wilt find there a sharpened cimeter of copper. Bring it to me, and I will tell thee what to do. So I clomb to the niche, and taking the blade, returned to the blind man, who said to me, Smite him with the sword in his middle, and he will die forthright. So I rushed after the gull, who was weary with running after me, and felt for the blind men that he might kill them, and coming up to him smote him with the sword, a single stroke across his waist, and he fell in twain. Then he screamed and cried out to me, O man, and thou desire to slay me, strike me a second stroke. Accordingly I was about to smite him another cut, but he who had directed me to the niche and the cimeter said, Smite him not a second time, for then he will not die but will live and destroy us. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 773rd night, She resumed, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king," that Saad continued. "Now when I struck the gull with the sword he cried out to me, O man, and thou desire to slay me, strike me a second stroke. I was about so to do when he who had directed me to the cimeter said, Smite him not a second time, for then he will not die but will live and destroy us. So I held my hand as he bade me, and the gull died. Then said the blind man to me, Open the mouth of the cave and let us fare forth, so haply Allah may help us and bring us to rest from this place. And I said, No harm can come to us now, let us rather abide here and repose, and eat of these sheep and drink of this wine, for long is the land. Accordingly we tarried there 2 months, eating of the sheep and of the fruits of the island, and drinking the generous grape juice till it so chanced one day, as we sat upon the beach, we caught sight of a ship looming large in the distance. So we made signs for the crew and hollered to them. They feared to draw near, knowing that the island was inhabited by a gull who ate Adamites, and would have sheered off. But 362, we ran down to the marge of the sea and made signs to them, with our turbaned ends, and shouted to them, whereupon one of the sailors, who was sharp of sight, said to the rest, Hark, comrades, I see these men formed like ourselves, for they have not the fashion of gulls. So they made for us little by little, till they drew near us in the dinghy, and were certified that we were indeed human beings, when they saluted us, and we returned their salam, and gave them the glad tidings of the slaying of the accursed, wherefore they thanked us. Then we carried to the ship all that was in the cave of stuffs and sheep and treasure, together with a viaticum of the island fruits, such as should serve us days and months, and embarking, sailed on with a fair breeze 3 days, at the end of which the wind veered round against us, and the air became exceeding dark. Nor had an hour passed before the wind drave the craft on to a rock, where it broke up, and its planks were torn asunder. However, the great God decreed that I should lay hold of one of the planks, which I bestrode, and it bore me along 2 days, for the wind had fallen fair again, and I paddled with my feet a while, till Allah the Most High brought me safe ashore, and I landed and came to this city, where I found myself a stranger, solitary, friendless, not knowing what to do, for hunger was sore upon me and I was in great tribulation. Thereupon I, O my brother, hid myself, and pulling off this my tunic, carried it to the market, saying in my mind, I will sell it and live on its price, till Allah accomplish to me whatso he will accomplish. Then I took the tunic in my hand, and cried it for sale, and the folk were looking at it and bidding for it, when, O my brother, thou camest by, and seeing me commandedst me to the palace. But thy pages arrested and thrust me into the prison, and there I abode, till thou bethoughtest thee of me and badst bring me before thee. So now I have told thee what befell me, and alhamdulillah, glorified be God for reunion. Much marveled the 2 kings at Saad's tale, and Taj al-Muluk 363, having made ready a goodly dwelling for Saif al-Muluk and his wazir, Daulat Khatun used to visit the prince there, and thank him for his favors and talk with him. One day he met her and said to her, O my lady, where is the promise thou madest me, in the palace of Japhet son of Noah, saying, Were I with my people, I would make shift to bring thee to thy desire. And Saad said to her, O princess, I crave thine aid to enable him to win his will. Answered she, Yea, verily, I will do my endeavor for him, that he may attain his aim if it please Allah Almighty. And she turned to Saif al-Muluk and said to him, Be of good cheer and keep thine eyes cool and clear. Then she rose and going in to her mother, said to her, Come with me forthright, and let us purify ourselves, and make fumigations that Badi'a al-Jamal and her mother may come and see me and rejoice in me. Answered the queen, with love and goodly gree, and rising, betook herself to the garden and burnt off these perfumes which she always had by her, nor was it long before Badi'a al-Jamal and her mother made their appearance. The queen of Hind foregathered with the other queen, and acquainted her with her daughter's safe return, whereat she rejoiced. And Badi'a al-Jamal and Daulat Khatun foregathered likewise and rejoiced in each other. Then they pitched the pavilions and dressed dainty viands, and made ready the place of entertainment, whilst the 2 princesses withdrew to a tent apart and ate together and drank and made merry. After which they sat down to converse, and Badi'a al-Jamal said, What hath befallen thee in thy strangerhood? Replied Daulat Khatun, O my sister, how sad is severance, and how gladsome is reunion, ask me not what hath befallen me. Oh, what hardships mortals suffer. Cried she, How so? And the other said to her, O my sister, I was immured in the high-builded castle of Japhet son of Noah, whither the son of the Blue King carried me off till Saif al-Muluk slew the Jinni and brought me back to my sire. And she told her to boot all that the prince had undergone of hardships and horrors before he came to the castle. Badi'a al-Jamal marveled at her tale and said, By Allah, O my sister, this is the most wondrous of wonders. This 364 Saif al-Muluk is indeed a man. But why did he leave his father and mother, and betake himself to travel and expose himself to these perils? Quoth Daulat Khatun, I have a mind to tell thee the first part of his history, but shame of thee hindereth me therefrom. Quoth Badi'a al-Jamal, why shouldst thou have shame of me, seeing that thou art my sister and my bosom friend, and there is much a matter between thee and me, and I know thou willest me not but well. Tell me then what thou hast to say, and be not abashed at me, and hide nothing from me, and have no fear of consequences. Answered Daulat Khatun, by Allah, all the calamities that have betided this unfortunate have been on thine account and because of thee. Asked Badi'a al-Jamal, how so, O my sister? And the other answered, know that he saw thy portrait wrought on a tunic which thy father sent to Solomon son of David, on the twain be peace. And he opened it not, neither looked at it, but dispatched it, with other presents and rarities, to Asim bin Safwan, king of Egypt, who gave it, still unopened, to his son Saif al-Muluk. The prince unfolded the tunic, thinking to put it on, and seeing thy portrait became enamored of it. Wherefore he came forth in quest of thee, and left his folk and reign, and suffered all these terrors and hardships on thine account. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 774th night, she said, it hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Daulat Khatun related to Badi'a al-Jamal the first part of Saif al-Muluk's history, how his love for her was caused by the tunic whereon her presentment was wrought, how he went forth, passion distraught, in quest of her, how he forsook his people and his kingdom for her sake, and how he had suffered all these terrors and hardships on her account. When Badi'a al-Jamal heard this, she blushed rosy red, and was confounded at Daulat Khatun, and said, verily this may never, never be, for man accordeth not with the Jann. Then Daulat Khatun went on to praise Saif al-Muluk, and extol his comeliness and courage and cavaleris, and ceased not repeating her memories of his prowess and his excellent qualities, till she ended with saying, for the sake of Almighty Allah and of me, O sister mine, come and speak with 365 him, though but one word. But Badi'a al-Jamal cried, by Allah, O sister mine, this that thou sayest I will not hear, neither will I assent to thee therein. And it was as if she heard naught of what the other said, and as if no love of Saif al-Muluk and his beauty and bearing and bravery had got hold upon her heart. Then Daulat Khatun humbled herself and said, O Badi'a al-Jamal, by the milk we have sucked, I and thou, and by that which is graven on the seal ring of Solomon, on whom be peace, hearken to these my words, for I pledged myself in the high-builded castle of Japhet, to show him thy face. So Allah upon thee, show it to him once, for the love of me, and look thyself on him. And she ceased not to weep and implore her and kiss her hands and feet, till she consented and said, for thy sake I will show him my face once, and he shall have a single glance. With that Daulat Khatun's heart was gladdened, and she kissed her hands and feet. Then she went forth and fared to the great pavilion in the garden, and bade her slave women spread it with carpets, and set up a couch of gold, and place the wine vessels in order. After which she went into Saif al-Muluk, and to his Wazir Sa'id, whom she found seated in their lodging, and gave the prince the glad tidings of the winning of his wish, saying, Go to the pavilion in the garden, thou and thy brother, and hide yourselves there from the eyes of men, so none in the palace may espy you, till I come to you with Badi'a al-Jamal. So they rose and repaired to the appointed pavilion, where they found the couch of gold set and furnished with cushions, and meat and wine ready served. So they sat a whilst Saif al-Muluk bethought him of his beloved, and his breast was straitened, and love and longing assailed him. Wherefore he rose and walked forth from the vestibule of the pavilion. Sa'id would have followed him, but he said to him, O my brother, follow me not, but sit in thy stead till I return to thee. So Sa'id abode seated, whilst Saif al-Muluk went down into the garden, drunken with the wine of desire, and distracted for excess of love-longing and passion-fire. Yearning agitated him, and transport overcame him, and he recited these couplets. O passing fair, I have none else but thee. Pity this slave in thy love's slavery. Thou art my search, my joy and my desire. None save thyself shall love this heart of me. 366. Would heaven I knew thou knewest of my wails, nightlong and eyelids oped by memory. Bid sleep to sojourn on these eyelids, haply in vision I thy sight shall see. Show favor then to one thus love distraught, save him from ruin by thy cruelty. Allah increase thy beauty and thy weal, and be thy ransom every enemy. So shall on doomsday lovers range beneath thy flag, and beauties neath thy banner be. Then he wept and recited these also. That rarest beauty ever bides my foe, who holds my heart and lurks in secrecy. Speaking, I speak of nothing save her charms, and when I'm dumb and heartcore wanteth she. Then he wept sore and recited the following. And in my liver higher flames the fire. You are my wish, and longsome still I yearn. To you none other, bend I and I hope, lovers long-suffering are, your grace to earn. And that you pity me whose frame by love is waste and weak his heart with sore concern. Relent, be generous, tender-hearted, kind, from you I'll ne'er remove, from you ne'er turn. Then he wept and recited these also. Came to me care when came the love of thee, cruel sleep fled me like thy cruelty. Tells me the messenger that thou art wroth, Allah forfend what evils told me he. Presently sad waxed weary of awaiting him, and going forth in quest of him, found him walking in the garden, distraught and reciting these two couplets. By Allah, by Th Almighty, by his right, who read the Quran chapter Fatir height. Ne'er roam my glances o'er the charms I see, thy grace, rare beauty, is my talk by night. 367 So he joined him, and the twain walked about the garden together, solacing themselves, and ate of its fruits. Such was their case. But as regards the two princesses, they came to the pavilion, and entering therein after the eunuchs had richly furnished it, according to command, sat down on the couch of gold, beside which was a window that gave upon the garden. The castrados then set before them all manner rich meats, and they ate, Daulat Khatun feeding her foster sister by mouthfuls, till she was satisfied, when she called for divers kinds of sweetmeats, and when the neutrals brought them, they ate what they would of them and washed their hands. After this Daulat Khatun made ready wine and its service, setting on the ewers and bowls, and she proceeded to crown the cups and give Badia al-Jamal to drink, filling for herself after, and drinking in turn. Then Badia al-Jamal looked from the window into the garden and gazed upon the fruits and branches that were therein, till her glance fell on Sayf al-Muluk, and she saw him wandering about the parterres, followed by Sa'd, and she heard him recite verses, raining the while railing tears. And that glance of eyes cost her 1,000 sighs, and Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 775th night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Badia al-Jamal caught sight of Sayf al-Muluk as he wandered about the garden, that glance of eyes cost her 1,000 sighs, and she turned to Daulat Khatun and said to her, and indeed the wine sported with her senses, O my sister, who is that young man I see in the garden, distraught, love-abiding, disappointed, sighing? Quoth the other, Dost thou give me leave to bring him hither that we may look on him? And quoth the other, And thou can avail to bring him, bring him. So Daulat Khatun called to him, saying, O king's son, come up to us and bring us thy beauty and thy loveliness. Sayf al-Muluk recognized her 368 voice and came up into the pavilion, but no sooner had he set eyes on Badia al-Jamal than he fell down in a swoon, whereupon Daulat Khatun sprinkled on him a little rose water and he revived. Then he rose and kissed ground before Badia al-Jamal, who was amazed at his beauty and loveliness. And Daulat Khatun said to her, Know, O princess, that this is Sayf al-Muluk, whose hand saved me by the ordinance of Allah Almighty, and he it is who hath borne all manner burthens on thine account. Wherefore I would have thee look upon him with favor. Hearing this Badia al-Jamal laughed and said, And who keepeth faith that this youth should do so, for there is no true love in men. Cried Sayf al-Muluk, O princess, never shall lack of faith be in me, and all men are not created alike. And he wept before her and recited these verses. O thou Badia al-Jamal, show thou some clemency to one those lovely eyes oppressed with witchery. By rights of beauteous hues and tints thy cheeks combine, of snowy white and glowing red anemone. Punish not with disdain one who is sorely sick, by long, long parting waste hath waxed this frame of me. This is my wish, my will, the end of my desire, and union is my hope, and haply this may be. Then he wept with violent weeping, and love and longing got the mastery over him, and he greeted her with these couplets. Peace be to you from lovers' wasted love, all noble hearts to noble favor show. Peace be to you, ne'er failure form my dreams, nor hall nor chamber the fair sight forgo. Of you I'm jealous, none may name your name, lovers to lovers I should bend thee low. So cut not off your grace from him who loves, while sickness wastes and sorrows overthrow. I watch the flowery stars which fright me, while cark and care mine every night forslow. Nor patience bides with me, nor plan appears. What shall I say when questioned of my foe? God's peace be with you in the hour of need, peace sent by lover patient bearing woe. Then for the excess of his desire and ecstasy, he repeated these couplets also. 369 If I to aught save you, O lords of me, incline, ne'er may I win of you my wish, my sole design. Who doth comprise all loveliness save only you, who makes the doomsday dawn e'en now before these eyne. Far be it love find any rest, for I am one, who lost for love of you this heart, these vitals mine. When he had made an end of his verses, he wept with sore weeping, and she said to him, O Prince, I fear to grant myself wholly to thee lest I find in thee nor fondness nor affection. For oftentimes man's fidelity is small, and his perfidy is great, and thou knowest how the Lord, Solomon, son of David, on whom be the peace, took Bilkis to his love, but weenas he saw another fairer than she, turned from her thereto. Saif al-Muluk replied, O my eye and O my soul, Allah hath not made all men alike, and I inshallah will keep my troth and die beneath thy feet. Soon shalt thou see what I will do in accordance with my words. And for whatso, I say Allah is my warrant. Quoth Badi'a al-Jamal, Sit and be of good heart and swear to me by the right of thy faith, and let us covenant together that each will not be false to other. And whichever of us breaketh faith may Almighty Allah punish. At these words he sat down and set his hand in her hand, and they swear each to other that neither of them would ever prefer to the other anyone, either of man or of the Jann. Then they embraced for a whole hour, and wept for excess of their joy, whilst passion overcame Saif al-Muluk, and he recited these couplets. I weep for longing love's own ardency, to her who claims the heart and soul of me. And soars my sorrow parted long from you, and shorts my arm to reach the prize I see. And mourning grief for what my patience marred, to blamers I unveiled my secrecy. And waxed straight that whilom was so wide, patience nor force remains nor power to dree. Would heaven I knew if God will ever deign to join our lives, and from our cark and care and grief set free. After this mutual troth-plighting, Saif al-Muluk arose and walked in the garden, and Badi'a al-Jamal arose also, and went forth also afoot, followed by a slave girl bearing somewhat of food and a 370 flask of wine. The princess sat down, and the damsel set the meat and wine before her. Nor remained they long ere they were joined by Saif al-Muluk, who was received with greeting, and the two embraced and sat them down. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 776th night, she pursued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that having provided food and wine, Badi'a al-Jamal met Saif al-Muluk with greetings, and the twain having embraced and kissed sat them down a while to eat and drink. Then said she to him, O king's son, thou must now go to the garden of Aram, where dwelleth my grandmother, and seek her consent to our marriage. My slave girl Marjanah will convey thee thither, and as thou farest therein thou wilt see a great pavilion of red satin, lined with green silk. Enter the pavilion heartening thyself, and thou wilt see inside it an ancient dame sitting on a couch of red gold set with pearls and jewels. Salute her with respect and courtesy, then look at the foot of the couch, where thou wilt descry a pair of sandals of cloth interwoven with bars of gold, embroidered with jewels. Take them and kiss them and lay them on thy head, then put them under thy right armpit, and stand before the old woman, in silence and with thy head bowed down. If she ask thee, Who art thou, and how camest thou hither, and who led thee to this land? And why hast thou taken up the sandals? Make her no answer, but abide silent till Marjanah enter, when she will speak with her, and seek to win her approof for thee, and cause her look on thee with consent. So haply Allah Almighty may incline her heart to thee, and she may grant thee thy wish. Then she called the handmaid Marjanah hight, and said to her, As thou lovest me, do my errand this day, and be not neglectful therein. And thou accomplish it, thou shalt be a free woman for the sake of Allah Almighty, and I will deal honorably by thee 371 with gifts, and there shall be none dearer to me than thou, nor will I discover my secrets to any save thee. So by my love for thee, fulfill this my need, and be not slothful therein. Replied Marjanah, O my lady and light of mine eyes, tell me what is it thou requirest of me, that I may accomplish it with both mine eyes. Badi'a rejoined, Take this mortal on thy shoulders, and bear him to the bloom garden of Aram and the pavilion of my grandmother, my father's mother, and be careful of his safety. When thou hast brought him into her presence, and seest him take the slippers and do them homage, and hearest her ask him, saying, Whence art thou, and by what road art come, and who led thee to this land? And why hast thou taken up the sandals, and what is thy need that I give heed to it? Do thou come forward in haste, and salute her with the salam, and say to her, O my lady, I am she who brought him hither, and he is the king's son of Egypt. 'Tis he who went to the high-builded castle, and slew the son of the Blue King, and delivered the princess Daulat Khatun from the castle of Japhet son of Noah, and brought her back safe to her father. And I have brought him to thee, that he may give thee the glad tidings of her safety. So deign thou be gracious to him. Then do thou say to her, Allah upon thee, is not this young man handsome, O my lady? She will reply, Yes, and do rejoin, O my lady, indeed he is complete in honor and manhood and valor, and he is Lord and King of Egypt and compriseth all praiseworthy qualities. And she asked thee, What is his need? Do thou make answer, My lady saluteth thee and saith to thee, 372 How long shall she sit at home, a maid and unmarried? Indeed, the time is longsome upon her, for she is as a magazine wherein wheat is heaped up. What then is thine intent in leaving her without a mate, and why dost thou not marry her in thy lifetide and that of her mother like other girls? If she say, How shall we do to marry her? And she have anyone in mind, let her tell us of him, and we will do her will as far as may be. Do thou make answer, O my lady, thy daughter saith to thee, Ye were minded aforetime to marry me to Solomon, on whom be peace, and portrayed him my portrait on a tunic. But he had no lot in me, so he sent the tunic to the king of Egypt, and he gave it to his son, who saw my portrait figured thereon and fell in love with me. Wherefore he left his father and mother's realm, and turning away from the world and whatso is therein, went forth at a venture, a wanderer, love-distraught, and hath borne the utmost hardships and honors for my sake of me. Now thou seest his beauty and loveliness, and thy daughter's heart is enamored of him. So, if ye have a mind to marry her to this young man, and forbid her not from him, for he is young and passing comely and king of Egypt, nor wilt thou find a goodlier than he. And if ye will not give her to him, she will slay herself and marry none, neither man nor jinn. And, continued Badi'a al-Jamal, Look thou, O Marjana, my, how thou mayst do with my grandmother to win her consent, and beguile her with soft words. So haply she may do my desire. Quoth the damsel, O my lady, upon my head and eyes will I serve thee and do what shall content thee. Then she took Sayf al-Muluk on her shoulders and said to him, O king's son, shut thine eyes. He did so, and she flew up with him into the welkin, and after a while she said to him, O king's son, open thine eyes. He opened them and found himself in a garden, which was none other than the garden of Aram. And she showed him the pavilion and said, O Sayf al-Muluk, enter therein. Thereupon he pronounced the name of Allah Almighty, and entering cast a look upon the garden. 373 When he saw the old queen sitting on the couch, attended by her waiting women. So he drew near her with courtesy and reverence, and taking the sandals bussed them, and did as Badi'a al-Jamal had enjoined him. Quoth the ancient dame, Who art thou, and what is thy country? Whence comest thou, and who brought thee hither, and what may be thy wish? Wherefore dost thou take the sandals and kiss them, and when didst thou ask of me a favor which I did not grant? With this in came Marjana, and saluting her reverently and worshipfully, repeated to her what Badi'a al-Jamal had told her. Which when the old queen heard, she cried out at her and was wroth with her and said, How shall there be accord between man and jinn? And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say.